Winning Blueprint presents.
In the lab room.
Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Luke. Thank you for joining me. Wow, it's been a while since we've done this. I've been focused on the draft and trying to churn out episodes on that front that haven't been here in the lab room for a while. Have neglected you guys, but I have to drop in for a quick second. I'm not totally back yet, so don't get excited. I'm just here to drop a little gem on your melon and then skedaddle. All right, I'll quickly gloss over some items, not going to get in depth as I usually do here. Just going to gloss over some things that we might have missed since the last time we spoke, get to a couple of other issues, and then get out of here quickly. So I want to start with the Raiders. Man, did they make some moves or what? Over the last 2 weeks or so, they were busy. My goodness, they signed about 5 or 6, maybe even 7 players in a 2-week stretch. And I told you at the outset of free agency, the Raiders weren't going to be players at the beginning of free agency. I told you toward the end, when the bargain basement deals start to commence, that's when the Raiders were going to get involved in free agency. Look what happened. The end of free agency really happened, and so did the Raiders. They were able to free up some cap space, gave them some flexibility to make some moves. Here they are making moves. Raiders signed about 5 or 6 players. And so now they're starting to shape up their roster, are the Oakland Raiders. Give a lot of credit to GM Reggie McKenzie. He's doing a really good job of getting the Raiders cap situation in order to allow them to have the offseason next year to spend the money and get some really good players on this football team. That's what you have to do when you blow it up and start over from scratch. You got to start with the basics, and the basics start with getting your salary cap situation as healthy as possible. You got to purge the roster. They've already begun to do that in Oakland. They got the salary cap under control, which is something you have to do if you want to build your team up the right way. Now they have to start focusing in on the draft. I assume the Raiders are doing that as we speak, and so the Raiders are moving in the right direction. Let's see if it can translate to some wins on the field now, going out and getting guys like Mike Jenkins, Tracy Porter, and the likes of those guys. Great moves by the Raiders. And again, a lot of these are one-year deals, prove-it deals. Hey, we have money now. And so if you go out and prove to me that you're a good player and you deserve a long-term deal, hey, I have the money. I can spend it on you. But we'll see. And that's the beauty of what the Raiders are doing right now. They're not locking themselves into long-term deals with these players. They're just signing them up for short-term deals. If they perform in Oakland, they might, keyword, might get paid. So now you look at today's current events, and the first thing that comes to mind is the new deal that Clay Matthews received. The Green Bay Packers have made Clay Matthews the highest paid linebacker in the National Football League. 5 years, $66 million. You're talking about essentially $13 million per year. Again, don't let the numbers fool you. You look at this deal, and I don't know the specifics quite yet, but I'm pretty sure that at some point the Packers are going to get out of this deal before he reaches the end of this deal, or they're going to re-sign him to an extension again and void the final years of this deal, where it's probably a lot more money owed to Clay Matthews than early on in this deal. But nonetheless, it's a very good deal for Clay Matthews and the Green Bay Packers. They reached a mutual agreement. Highest paid linebacker in the National Football League is Clay Matthews. Huge deal, 5 years, $66 million. So what I'm really here for today is to tell you that tomorrow is the NFL schedule release. And for geeks like myself, for NFL geeks, like myself and maybe you, if you're watching this, that means to some degree you're probably a geek as well. You love the NFL just as much as I do. And for me, outside of football itself and football season, nothing trumps actual football on the field. Let's start with that. But after the football on the field, when you get to the off-season activities, for me, the draft is always exciting, but the schedule release is right up there with the draft for me. I love the schedule release because it gives you an opportunity to kind of set everything up, set the stage. How many home games do we have in a row? When do we play divisional opponents? When do we play the Cowboys in the Redskins case? If you're a Ravens fan, when do we play the Steelers? If you're a New England Patriots fan or you're a Jets fan, when do we play the Patriots? And so you get to see where those matchups lie on the schedule. You get to find out how many primetime games do we have. Who are we playing on those primetime games if we do have some? Do we have a Monday night game? Do we have a Sunday night game? Are we on Thursday? Every team in the league is supposed to get a Thursday night matchup. So when are we playing on Thursday night? Who are we playing on Thursday night football? Where is that game located? All these factors go into looking at the schedule. It's so much fun. I love doing that. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot look at a schedule and declare that your team is going to win X amount of games. Not allowed when you look at the schedule this early on. You don't know who's going to be good. You don't know who's going to be bad. The Chiefs were terrible a season ago. You look at the Chiefs and they're on your schedule this year. You can't say, hey, that's a win. That's a win. Because the Chiefs might be the most improved team in the league this year. You don't know. It's a whole new Chiefs team. So you can't look at the schedule and say, hey, that's a loss, that's a loss, that's a win, that's a win. You can't do that. That's not what this schedule release is for. It's just for you to get excited about the upcoming season, to look to see where games are going to be played. Maybe you have an anomaly on your schedule. 3 straight road games, and they're all against tough opponents. You might have 3 consecutive road games against the Steelers, the Ravens, and then the Philadelphia Eagles. And you might look at your schedule and say, wow. Or you might have 3 consecutive road games against the Patriots, the Broncos, and then your last one is on the road against the New York Giants. And all you can do is take a step back and say, wow, that's a tough stretch of football. Or maybe you have 3 out of 4 at home where you got teams that you should be able to handle. You think you might be able to handle, but you can't say for certain. Again, this isn't the time to start doing that. But that's always the fun part for me, looking at the schedule and seeing where games are, seeing where the divisional games lie on your schedule. I thought last year was great for the Redskins because, hey, all of our divisional games were backloaded to the back half of the schedule. That's what you want. You want your team to mature and know who you are, know who your identity is, and then go out and play football. Had we played those teams early on in the season, I'd like to think that we would not have won the division. But because we played those teams when we got hot at the end of the season, we were able to run off 5 out of 6 in the division and win the NFC East. So the schedule release is important. Trust me, on this program, we will cover the schedule release for every single team in the National Football League. We'll cover it. And I want you to enjoy it. I know I will. So that was my sole purpose for really coming on this program today, is to remind you, NFL schedule release tomorrow, 8 p.m., NFL Network. Be there. Check it out. Even if you don't, I'm going to make sure I break it down so you don't miss a thing. Either way, look at it yourself, analyze it, break it down. Do whatever you like with the schedule. Have fun. That's what it's about. I love to look at these schedules. And not just my own teams. I love looking at everyone's schedule to see who has the primetime games. What games will be carried on ESPN? Will they have a stinky schedule again? Will it be funky like it was 2 seasons ago? Will they step up to the plate like they did a year ago and have some really good games? We know Sunday Night Football brings the heat every year. I don't worry about Sunday Night Football. What does the Thursday night schedule look like? I wasn't really enamored with it a season ago. So we'll see how it all plays out. Who has that doubleheader game on Monday night to start the season out? It's always the Raiders in that second half. Just want to know, who are they playing? Those are the things that I look for in the schedule. And so that's a touchdown. Go ahead and throw it up. I'm going to tackle on a quick extra point. And I'm going to end this episode on a very somber note. First, I want to start with the bombings in Boston at the Boston Marathon. It was a tragic event that took place. People losing their lives, people losing limbs, senseless acts of violence on the parts of those who really don't believe in our liberties and freedoms in this country. And frankly, they want to see us perish. They want to see us in fear. And that's what this is mostly about. They want to kill as many people as they possibly can. Yes, that's probably their first and main objective. But the next closest goal that they look to attain is to scare us, to strike fear into our hearts, to make us feel unsafe in our own country. And I can say that I refuse to allow someone to make me afraid to do anything. And it's events like that that I feel like bring this country closer together. I hate that it takes something like that to occur, but a senseless act of violence like that only unites this country and makes it that much stronger. And so for those out there that think that this type of situation and this type of occurrence is going to divide this country, or it's going to make us afraid, it's just going to make us stronger. And my heart goes out to the families affected by this tragedy, and the prayers are pouring out for all those involved. And like I said before, I'll say it again. This is the greatest country in the world, and I wouldn't trade it for anywhere, anyone, anybody. And I will not be afraid in my own home, in my own country, in my own state. I don't care what acts of terrorism occur. This will always be the United States of America. And also, on a sad note, before we get out of here, Pat Summerall, the great Hall of Fame announcer, passed away yesterday at the age of 82. This guy was a pioneer in broadcasting. I mean, my fondest memories of the National Football League, because of course I'm a Redskins fan, I did a lot of watching football on Fox. And he was the voice of Fox for a long time. I mean, him and John Madden together were the A-team. They were it in the NFC. And I can always remember Pat Summerall and that voice of his doing the games and just really making the game an event. And so he will dearly be missed. And my heart goes out to his family, all those who knew Pat Summerall. Again, my condolences go out to them as well. Very sad to hear of the passing of Pat Summerall, but again, he is a legend that is gone but will never be forgotten in the National Football League. And that's going to do it for this episode of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me here on this program. Many ways to contact the show, many ways to view this show. There's Facebook. In the Lab Room is the Facebook page. Check it out. Like the page while you're there. There is Twitter. At In the Lab Room is the Twitter handle. Don't be afraid to follow me on Twitter. Also, there is YouTube. Louis T is the page. Please subscribe if you have not already done so. There is so much coming out of this show, and there's going to be even more. I'm going to do a nice spread on the NFL schedule release, and so I want you guys to check that out as well. Every team will be documented on that front as well. And so, look, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And last but not least, there's the inbox. In the Lab Room at gmail.com is the inbox. If you want to skip past all the extracurricular, come directly to the inbox, feel free to do so. Whether you drop a comment at the bottom of a video, you leave a post on Facebook, or you send me a tweet via Twitter, I'll get it all. It comes directly to the inbox anyhow. So any way you want to contact me, feel free. I will respond. As many of you know, you send a message, I will respond to you. I take pride in responding to anyone that leaves me a comment that is worth commenting on. And so I thank you for joining me here today on the program. Hope to see you here in the near future. And of course, I want to see you back here, same time, same place. And as always, have a good one. Take care. See you tomorrow with that schedule release. Have fun.